Thank you both for the ongoing work. I do have multiple questions here, and so I want to be able to try to get through them as quickly as I can on this. Mr. Grimm, HHS coordinated with the Department of Justice to dismiss a lawsuit against the University of Vermont Medical Center for knowingly, willfully, and repeatedly violating the Church Amendment, which is a federal conscience law. Now, that was a case that was already in going through the process. We're trying to be able to figure out why that case suddenly got dropped. It was interesting on the Church Amendment side of it that now HHS has determined they're going to enforce the Church Amendment in Texas on abortion providers there, but have dropped it in Vermont, where a nurse had given a conscience protection there, historically given a conscience protection, was suddenly taken away. Are you aware of that situation with the inequality application of the Church Amendments and of why HHS would drop that case suddenly?
I am not familiar with that matter, Senator.
It's a legal matter and it's a serious matter. I wish you would get a chance to be able to take a look at that on just the equal application of the law for HHS.
We would be happy to come up and talk to you about your interest in that matter.
Javier Becerra also mentioned during his confirmation hearings that he would recuse himself from any case that he was also involved in as the Attorney General in California. It wasn't long after he came to HHS that suddenly the cases dealing with California and some of the conscience protection issues there under the Weldon Amendment were suddenly dropped. Do you know of any situation there suddenly where California cases suddenly got dropped from HHS shortly after the Secretary became confirmed?
I am not aware of cases that fit that description, Senator.
That would be one we could certainly walk you through, that there's some obvious questions that are there that we think need to be addressed. And it's one of those cases that we look at and go, that seems odd, to say the least on it. It also doesn't allow the people of California to continue to have conscience protections there as they do in other parts of the country. Of late, there is a division within HHS called the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division. I'm sure you're aware of that. We're hearing that HHS is looking to dissolve that division. Do you know the status of that division, whether it's being dissolved or what the structural changes are being proposed for the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division?
I do not have any specifics on the dissolution of that office or if that is happening.
That'll be one that we'll want to be able to follow up with you on to be able to find out what's actually happening there. Because there's obviously a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about what actually happens there and what political appointees may or may not do to be able to deal with some issues that are legal issues. There's, as you know, a whole series of legal protections for conscience protections that have been in law for decades and decades, that this division was created to be able to make sure that those were actually enforced. If suddenly that goes away, there's an obvious question to say, are those no longer going to be enforced at HHS?
Senator, I think it would make sense for us to come up and talk to you about some of your concerns in this area.
Okay, let's plan to be able to do that. Mr. MacBride, let me ask you some questions. Over the last several months, we've all seen the articles from ProPublica organization on some obvious leaks that are coming out of the IRS. That are attributed to be filings from quote-unquote wealthy Americans. There's been a lot of questions on where that information came from. There is also a legal issue that's there as well. It's a felony to be able to release private tax records. It's also a felony to be able to publish known tax records. ProPublica has announced that they're very aware that these are tax records and they're publishing them anyway for the public good, which is clearly a felony to be able to do that. And it's also an issue as well if someone has released these documents as well. Are you tracking that? Is that a course of investigation that you would be engaged in? What's your consideration on that?
Thank you, Senator Lankford. So I'm aware generally of the issue that you've raised from press reports. I'm not yet in the Treasury building yet. But agree with you that the unauthorized release of confidential or proprietary government information is unlawful. My understanding, mainly from press reports, is that there are multiple investigations ongoing with the Inspector General's office at Treasury, I believe with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia. If I'm so fortunate to be confirmed, I would want to get read in on this issue and understand what happened and how to make sure that it is brought to a swift conclusion and doesn't happen again.
It seems to be something that achieves a political end, and some people are saying it's wealthy people. I don't care. We can release their tax records. It's illegal, regardless of who it is. I don't care if it's you or if it's me or if it's Senator Whitehouse or if it's any of my 4 million constituents in my state or whoever it may be. It's not legal to be able to release tax records, and people should know that the IRS is a closed system and that there are individuals within the IRS that are privately, through their political agenda, trying to be able to release out documents. That is a felony, and it does need to be enforced to regain confidence of the American people in the days ahead. So we would be eager for you to actually apply the law and to be able to do a thorough investigation to be able to find out what's actually happening there, because the American people, when they file their tax records, should have some level of confidence that they're going to be kept confidential in that process. So thank you to both. I now get the great joy of recognizing, as we're passing the football back and forth, of recognizing Senator Whitehouse for the next questions.
Thank you, Senator Lankford.